Hi there, welcome back to Jesus Life. It's so good to see you today. I would like to share a little testimony today that happened to me around 2015, 2016. So I just started a new job and I moved into my parents' place. And for some time I was saving up money and then I started to look for an apartment to rent. And I was looking for months and months, and I was looking online on all those different platforms, couldn't find anything suitable. I was even looking in newspapers, but there just was no apartment that was fit for me. I was actually even having appointments and I went and looked at apartments, but then at the end I didn't get it, or there was just something that was not right. So after a few months, I was just so frustrated. And at some point I just said, Lord, I just completely surrender this whole apartment thing to you. And I ask you to please lead this. And if you want me to move out, then can you please send the apartments to me? Amen. That was just a small and simple prayer of just entrusting this whole situation to the Lord and asking Him if He could send this to me my way whenever the time's right. And then basically I forgot about it for almost half a year. I did not look into it at all, didn't think about it, didn't look up anything, and just continued to focus on other things. And half a year later, I met a colleague at work again, and she asked me like, hey Anna, how are you, and did you already move? Because last time we met, I told her that I was searching for an apartment to rent, and I said, well, actually I did not move, and it's I kind of forgot about it because nothing worked out, but if something comes my way, I'm open. And she said, why don't you move into my apartment? I thought that's so funny. Who asks this? So I said, well, where do you live again? Somewhere around Frankfurt or so? I had no clue. I've never been to her place. I didn't know exactly where she lived. And so she said, well, why don't you just come over for a cup of coffee and I can show you the apartment. So I said, well, great. We made an appointment, and a few weeks later I was about to go and meet her. And I told my parents, like, I go see my friend from work. She lives in Frankfurt. She invited me for a coffee, and she's also wanting to rent move out, and she actually offered me her apartment. And I don't know, I've never considered Frankfurt. Actually, I live further away, and actually even wanted to move even further into the countryside, because I also thought that would be more affordable, and I love the countryside anyway. So I never looked into Frankfurt or even closer to Frankfurt. So and my parents said, yeah, sure, fine, go and see her. So I said that I'm not really interested in moving to Frankfurt, but I just would go see the apartment and meet my friend. So I did that. I went there, and literally as she opened the door and I stepped into the apartment, I saw the archway which leads to the kitchen, and I just knew this is my home. It was an inner feeling. I just knew that I knew this is my home. And I only knew, I saw pictures before, but it's still a bit different when you are in the place itself. So she showed me around and gave me a few more details, and I was so surprised that all of the things that was on my mental list that an apartment I would move in should have, it had. And I thought it would be much more expensive, but it wasn't, and I was so surprised. And I really loved the apartment at first sight. So we had a cup of coffee and chatted, and I mean, I've only been to Frankfurt as a tourist, and I've never been to this particular part of the town. So I had no really clue where I would later move into. Anyways, I went back home, and I didn't know at the time, but I didn't know that I would move in. So my mom, she asks me, so how was your time with your friend? Show me pictures. I'm sure you took pictures. So I showed her a few pictures and told her about the apartment. Not saying that I felt like it's my home, I have to move in, nothing at all. And my mom then said, well, before that, I said to the Lord, Lord, if this is from you, because obviously I remembered my prayer, and I said, wow, like she asked me to move into this place. It really sounds like my prayer here, like this is the answer to my prayer. But I was a bit cautious and didn't want to rush anything. So I said, well, Lord, if this is from you, if you are giving me this apartment, then you really have to convince my parents as well, because I never looked into Frankfurt. It's so far away. I wanted to stay closer to my family, and I'm sure they didn't want me to move that far away. So, and I wanted to leave with my parents' blessing. So I didn't want it to be, like a tense situation or something at home. So I showed my mom the pictures, told her all about the facts and the details of the apartment, and she says, oh, that's a nice apartment. That really looks so cute. And she said, well, you work in Frankfurt, and it's always such a long way home. And wow, it's not that expensive at all. I thought it would be much more expensive. It's actually so nice for you. It would be so fitting. Why don't you want to move in? So I was shocked that my mom told me, why don't you move into this apartment? That was really a shocker for me. And the good thing about the whole situation was that I could only move into the place like a few months later, which gave us time to prepare mentally, to make all the preparation needed, to just mentally be ready to leave my parents' place again. And there was no rush. There was no like you have to move in now or never, So it was all such a round picture, how you would describe in German, so ein rundes Bild. And I was just so glad everything just came together like a really beautiful puzzle. And I loved how God was taking care of every detail. And I just moved. I didn't do anything else. It was really a miracle. And it was just such a blessing, and still is. After more than 8 years, I'm still living in this apartment, now with my husband, and it's just such a blessing. I love the apartment. It really is my dream home, and such a beautiful place. I love it so much, and I'm just so thankful. I would have probably never gotten it if it would have been in the internet somewhere. There would have probably been 100 people in line for this apartment. So this is really a testimony to what God can do if we just commit all of our ways to Him. This is just one of the ways that was part of my life that I committed to Him, and where I really saw fruit, and I saw how God came through. I mean, it was not overnight. It was not something instantaneous and boom, there was the miracle. It took time, and it did take effort in where like I just trust God, and then also just leave it and just leave it in His hands and not think about it anymore, because God now takes over. And as I prayed in English, like today we have just read Proverbs 16, as today is May 16. So, and I prayed that that God, you are the pilot. You are the pilot of our life. So if there is some area in your life where you really need someone to take over this whole situation because you don't see fruit, you don't see a progress, you don't see your plans succeed, well, ask God, is it your will? Is this something that you want me to pursue? And if yes, is it the right time? And let God decide all of this. I just found in my case, it was just such a mental load to deal with all of the different aspects in this situation, and it just took so much load off my shoulders, and also mentally, to just literally give it all to God, entrust it to Him, and just pray, like, Lord, lead me, take this whole situation and show me what is your will, and trust that He will come through in His time. So my friends, thank you for listening and watching, and see you next time.